Welcome in, fans, to another episode of the Two Line Pass podcast. I'm Randon. Here with me, we've got Ryan and Dustin, a full crew tonight. We might as well go live, guys, because they are announcing extension after extension. Both Alex Kerfoot and Ian Cole receiving extensions right before the recording of this episode. So we'll see. Who knows what may happen as we're recording. We're going to be keeping our eyes on it. But welcome into the show, Dustin. Ryan, how are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Actually, before we dive too much into the hockey stuff, I wanted to just share a piece of information with you, with the fans, with the listeners. Something that I found out completely on my own the other day, just doing some research all on my own. Did you know lemons don't just occur naturally in nature? They're a blend of a citron and a bitter orange. I found that out all on my own the other day. It was amazing.
I don't believe it.
That is so crazy. What led you to this research, Dustin? What sparked that off?
So I've been trying to eat healthy, and I've just I want to incorporate more fruits and veg into my diet rather than just these Built Bars. Pay me, Built Bar. But I wanted to incorporate some fruits, so I was just reading random fruit facts, one day, and I saw that lemons don't occur naturally in nature, and I thought, wow, that's weird. I better do some research. So I looked that up all on my own.
Are we sure this isn't an internet joke like that? Are you actually being for real right now?
Yes, it's 100% real. I'm not. Yes, we're not with you. It's 100% real. Google it. Google is free.
Guys, I just learned that too. So let me tell you this. If you're not already learning everything about the Utah Hockey Club from this podcast, now we're just bringing real-world facts. Hard-hitting real-world facts that you will take in your everyday life and utilize. This is eye-opening for me. This may change my entire outlook on life. And of course, we're poking fun at Ryan for bringing that fact to our attention. But Ryan, welcome in. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. A little bummed out. We haven't had hockey at least we haven't had Utah hockey for 4 days, 5 days, whatever it's been. And yeah, I could go watch other NHL games, but I don't really, I don't care.
Now that we have a team of our own, doesn't it feel weird watching other games? I felt like before this season, I could just turn on any game and it didn't matter and I would just watch it and I would just love it. And I still do love watching hockey, but now it's just different. I don't get the same satisfaction watching two random teams in the Eastern Conference play like I used to, now that I have the hockey club. So I don't know if anybody else out there feels that way. It's just something I've noticed throughout my hockey consumption for this season. But yeah, the break has been long, but it's almost over. When this episode airs, we will have hockey. We will start our game against Detroit. Well, the game will be later tonight, but we'll play a first of back-to-back, and it's going to be exciting. But before we get into that preview of the upcoming games, it is almost the 11th hour. The trade deadline is fast approaching. And we talked about this in the previous episode about what we thought might happen. Are we going to be buyers? Are we going to be sellers? Are we going to move? What is going to happen? So far, nada, which we kind of thought maybe was the model they were going. Bill Armstrong has since basically confirmed, I think the exact quote was that this team deserves to stick together, or they've played to stick together, something along that line. So basically hinting that no major moves are in the future. So the question then becomes, if we're not moving anybody, who are we re-signing and who might walk in free agency? Well, there's question marks no more on a few players. The big one, I think we all agree, and we'll take them in turn. Let's talk about them individually. The big one I think we all agree on that is a slam dunk home run is the Olli Maatta extension. So we get Olli Maatta for 3 more years. He gets a $500,000 raise at 3.5, and I really think this is just a no-brainer with the way he's played. We've sung his praises up and down this podcast. He has been the most consistent defensive defenseman we've had. He's been the best defensive defenseman we have. He's not going to light up the scoreboard, but he's no slouch there. He's going to contribute, but his defensive prowess is unmatched. Maybe only John Marino can compare compete with him for the better defensive defenseman, but they're not on a pairing. If they were, it would be an absolute shutdown defensive pairing of old. We're talking hard-nosed hockey, and the Olli Maatta just plays so well, so brilliantly, and I'm so excited to have him for 3 more years. Ryan, Dustin, you guys agree with me? Do you like the Olli Maatta extension?
Yeah, I thought that was the perfect extension. I feel like we could have given him more than a $500,000 raise. I feel like he's earned quite a big raise because he plays one of the most simple games of hockey I've ever seen. And that's one thing good teams always do is play simple hockey. And he's one of the few guys who consistently, game in and game out, plays a simple game of hockey. Yeah.
I really liked it. Like you said, I believe he is our best, just straightforward defensive defenseman. I mean, an argument could be made that he was the best player on the ice for Finland during the Four Nations break. Just he's really good, and he just gives a balance on the defensive side. He just brings a steady play, steady energy on the defensive side of the puck. I like that signing a lot.
Yeah, I think we were all impressed with the way he played for Team Finland. We were pretty sad that Juuso Välimäki never got to see the ice. But when Olli Maatta was on the ice, I think Finland truly looked their best, or at least you knew there was going to be no lapses against the best in the world. This is not just Olli Maatta playing against the best in the West or the best player on one team of mediocre players. This is the best of the best, and he consistently showed up to that Four Nations tournament and made not only his country, Finland, proud, but also made the Utah Hockey Club proud. And we talk about how good he is defensively, but he's contributing offensively well. He's played 51 games since coming over from Detroit. 51 games. He's got 2 goals and 12 assists. So 14 points, and I don't think you can ask much more for that for a not first pairing defenseman. I don't believe he plays on the power play, which is a significant chunk of our team's production is on the power play. So for 14 points and not on the power play, like you got to give him that credit. That's showing that he's moving the puck, not just shutting it down, making it hard for players to get into the offensive zone, but he's shutting it down and coming back in transition and creating plays. Just his pass, I don't know if you guys remember his assist in the Four Nations tournament was so beautiful. It was a lot like the Schmaltz to, oh my goodness, who was it? Schmaltz to Gunther, where Schmaltz just fed it right through the slot, right at the blue paint, and an easy putback for Gunther. It was the same sort of threading the needle that Olli Maatta had. So we talk about how good he is defensively, but he is a impact player offensively as well. He has been a playmaker, and exciting to see how he complements those younger defensemen that we've got coming up. But more on that, because there was another signing that I think will play into that even more. But let's go to the next one that was announced. Alex Kerfoot has been signed for just 1 year. So the interesting thing is where Olli Maatta got a $500,000 pay raise, or Alex Kerfoot takes a $500,000 pay decrease. So he goes from $3.5 million to $3 million, which is okay in my book. I didn't think he needed to lose any money, but contract negotiations are what they are. But we have thought since the beginning, now Alex Kerfoot has played all 61 games for this team, and we have thought he has been one of the most consistent players. He has played on every single line for this team throughout this season. He has played on the power play, plays on penalty kill. He does it all, and he is versatile, but when he was on that fourth line was the best fourth line in the NHL. Stenlund made up the best fourth line in hockey. I think we can, at least all of us agree. We can argue that with the other fan bases, but that was just so good. But he's also moved up to the first line. He's been the first line center as well when Cooley was out. So he has just been super versatile, super excited. I think it's interesting that we only sign him for 1 year, and I believe that's because they expect Cole Baudouin or Tisha Ginla to step up and become the center of the future, and they don't see necessarily Alex Kerfoot filling a center role, which he played left wing or right wing on the fourth line, so I don't think he needs to play center, but that's beside the point. But I think that's why, if you have to ask, well, why did he only get 1 year? I think it's because Cole Baudouin and Tisha Ginla are waiting in the wings. But I've spoken enough. Dustin, Ryan, what do you guys think about Alex Kerfoot signing for 1 year, $3 million?
I like it. Yeah, like you were saying, he's been one of the more consistent guys, and he brings kind of a veteran presence while still being young enough to be not necessarily an older veteran, but a guy who's been around the block. Same kind of thing with Maatta. They both bring to where, and it's for all you baseball fans, he's the perfect utility player. You can plug Alex Kerfoot in anywhere, and he's gonna make plays. He's gonna fit in. He just plays hockey well. He plays it the right way, and you need guys like him to win. And I think he's one of the better guys we brought in. Not gonna, necessarily bring up the other one, but his name rhymes with Schmook Schmat.
I like it. I think like giving it a year, just an added year onto the end of his contract here is probably the right way to handle it. Like you said, they do have some guys coming up through the system that they believe in, that have been playing well so far, at least in the minors. And like he's an important piece of sort of like, I guess you say, the soul of this team. Like he's one of the guys who rotates through as an alternate captain. And like you said, just like Ryan said, just the perfect type of like utility guy who can play on any of the lines, left, center, or right. Like he just does what you ask him to, and he feels like an emotional leader on this team, and that's an important piece as you're trying to build a team to compete for the playoffs and hopefully within the next couple of years compete for a Stanley Cup. Like you need that type of emotional leader, that type of captain. So yeah, it's definitely a good signing in my.
Keeping the team together, it'd be good familiarity with the fans. Just exciting times to be a Utah Hockey Club fan, and we'll see how they go. Whether Mammoth, Outlaw, Venom, whatever it ends up being, I don't even know if Venom's still in the running, but whatever it ends up being, we will find out. Now there was a third signing tonight, and this one, 36-year-old defenseman Ian Cole takes a minor pay cut, $2.8 million against the cap, eligible for performance bonuses. I did not see this one coming. I expected Ian Cole to be traded, or we would just let him test the free agent market. Houston Brogan commenting that this is this will be, assuming nothing happens, the first time Ian Cole has played with back-to-back teams in back-to-back seasons since 2020. So good for him, finding some stability. He leads the NHL in block shots. He's a block shot master, and he's been a mentor to the young guys, which you've got Maverick Lamoureux and Dmitry Shimashev coming. Shimashev has already said he's not going to play in Russia next year, and he expects to sign with the Utah Hockey Club. So whether he makes the NHL jump, not sure, but I think we can all agree that Maverick Lamoureux is expected to make the jump again next year. So that mentoring presence will be there. I just thought it was interesting. He's getting up there. I didn't know if he would want, I guess he would want to play another year. Everybody does, but I didn't know that he would. When you get up there, you start to wonder how many more years you have left, and I would have expected a decision to be made at another team. But I will take him. I'm not saying Ian Cole isn't amazing. I like it. We'll take the pay cut, and we'll see where the defensive chips fall as they may. Did this surprise you guys at all? Are you guys happy? Are you sad? Are you mad? Are you glad about Ian Cole signing for one more year?
And like you said, it did sort of surprise me. I think we did all kind of agreed that we don't think Utah's going to make any moves at the deadline, and if they do, they're going to be small moves. So Ian Cole's one of those guys that I could have seen moved, just because like an aging player on an expiring contract, like sometimes those are valuable to teams in the trade market. But he's just a steady, like he's a guy who's willing to put his body on the line. He's not exceptionally skilled. He's not going to do anything that wows you. He's not gonna blast shots from the blue line like Sergachev does or anything like that. He's not the steady defender like an Olli Maatta is. He's just sort of there. He plays with effort. He's willing to put his body on the line, like you said, with how many shots he blocked. So like he's a good piece, but I mean, just he's getting a little long in the tooth. So I don't think he's in the future plans of this team. So I guess it is a little surprising to see an extension go his way, but I think that probably just ties more into sort of the lack of acceptable play. I mean, the fact that Maverick Lamoureux didn't develop into who we thought he would, at least early on. Maybe they think they need to count on him for one more season before Maverick makes a jump, and they need to have him there. So it's not anything that it's going to keep me up at night, but it's not something that I saw coming.
I mean, I'm fine with it. It's a good signing, but I feel like the only reason to make that signing is because you're planning on him being there to be the partner for Lamoureux, because they partnered him up earlier this year when it didn't really work out. So maybe you do it again next year, but I don't know, not against it.
You know, it does kind of make me sad. So this season, he's averaging more ice time than he's ever averaged as in his career. He's averaging over 20 minutes of ice time, which has never happened in his career. He's never averaged more than 20 minutes of ice time. But his last, he's currently his plus minus for us, Ian Coles, is -8. And the last time he was minus in that category was in 18 and 19 for the Colorado Avalanche in the 2019 season. And it's only happened 4 times in his career. And he was -1, -2, -3, -4. Once with the Blues, twice with the Penguins, and once with the Avalanche. And so, unfortunately, we're giving him a bigger workload, but we're also kind of leaving him out to dry. So, but good on Ian Cole, getting another season, getting another $3 million. Now let's move away from the free agent signings that have happened, and let's take a quick rundown of what hasn't happened. There are 3 big players we are watching for extensions or movement that are free agents next year, and that is Michael Carcone, Jack McBain, and Karel Vejmelka. I think 3 guys that this podcast and this fan base, certainly with 2 of the 3, absolutely would love to see get some extensions. The length and the dollar amount is up for debate. But I want to remind everybody, I want to put this out there. Let's say Veggie doesn't sign an extension by Friday. That doesn't mean that he can't. You don't have to sign an extension before the deadline. You just can't get traded before the deadline. So it's not like he has until Friday to sign an extension with Utah. He's still got time. Now, the thing is, we've talked about this, Vejmelka thinks he deserves a raise, and he's probably right. But does this team want to pay him what he's expecting, which is probably close to $4 million a season? We looked at it, we tweeted, showed you the $4 million goalies. Other than Jake Ottinger, he's well above all of them, but Ottinger is only a $4 million goalie for this season. After that, he goes to 8.5. Vejmelka is not an $8.5 million goaltender. I'm on the fence of whether he's a $4 million goaltender. I just don't see anything better out there. What do you guys think? Of those 3, what do you think, and who's more likely to get an extension first? Michael Carcone, Jack McBain, Karel Vejmelka.
I would assume McBain will be the first one to get the extension. Depending on he's another one though, depending on how much he wants, I could see them letting him walk because he's due for a payday. You know, he's coming up on, or he's going to be a free agent, and he's played very well this season. He's had ups and downs. You know, he's had a couple. He hasn't really been lighting it up necessarily, but he was on fire at the beginning of the year. Veggie, I don't think they're going to pay him. Will they move him? Maybe. I could also see, you know what I mean? It's going to suck to let him walk for nothing. But if you can't make a deal with a guy, you can't make a deal with a guy. And Carcone's, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, if he wants to go, he can go. Wants to stay, he can stay. He could take Bukestad with him if he would like. Not going to argue with that. I think if anybody needs to get moved, it's probably Bukestad or Michelli. Just because he hasn't played in 7 games, 8 games or whatever, that's not great for anybody. You know what I mean? It's not good for his confidence. Send him somewhere he can at least get some playing time.
Yeah, and that's something we've talked about before. I thought, was it Garconi that got benched for 1 game and then came right back, and it was just sort of that, like, sending a message that he needed to step up a little bit. And then he comes back and scores immediately, and we sort of thought that's what was going to happen with Michelli, but he's stayed there on the healthy scratch list. And while guys like Spicy Tuna, which I get that he's like a fan favorite and he can get the juices pumping, he can get the home arena going with some fights, but he doesn't offer you the skill that someone like Michelli does. But that's kind of getting off base of what the topic was. Ideally, I would love to see McBain stay. He's been one of my favorite players. He plays a tough style of game that I like, and he's another guy that, like, he's skilled enough to play a little bit higher, and he's also, like, he's big and tough enough to just be like a prototypical, like, just big bodied goonish type 4th line. So he's versatile in that aspect, and he's been sort of a favorite of mine. And then ideally I'd love to see Veggie. I think Veggie's taken a huge step up in his play. I think he's not quite at the level of being able to turn in regular performances where he wins a game for you, but he's definitely reached a level of he's not going to lose a game for you. You know, you're going to give up, like, he's going to give up a goal and a half, 2 goals on average. So as long as you're getting him semi decent goal support, you're always going to be in a game with Veggie and net. And I think he's probably worth like 3.75, 4 million. You showed us that list of goalies who were making that, and he's in that mix. Like when Ottinger goes up at the end of this year, he's probably the tops of that list if he does wind up making 4 million. So I think he's worth it, and I think we have a front office that's willing to pay it. So I don't think we'll see him traded, just because I think he's established himself as the number one goalie. We've wondered for a while now if Coach Turini was ever going to make that decision, but it seems like he has. He's been rolling with Veggie for a while now, so hopefully we see, I would imagine it's probably McBain first. If I was going to guess which news breaks first, it just seems like that's probably an easier contract to negotiate out. And he won't have as many like backdoor suitors as Vejmelka will. So hopefully we'll probably see McBain here pretty soon, and then hopefully Veggie doesn't get dealt by the deadline and we hear something soon, just kind of like get the stress of that behind us, leave that in the rearview mirror.
Absolutely. And I think if my only concern, and we've hid this, at least I have hid this in no way, shape, or form, my only concern with Veggie coming back is I have no faith in Turney's ability to manage his goalies. Absolutely zero. And if we pay Vejmelka more and he still rotates a 50-50 or even 60-40 with Ingram, that is a significant problem for me personally, especially considering Ingram is going to be a free agent in 2 years, and he makes less than $2 million. So, where does Ingram fit in this? We've got some goalie prospects coming up. Now, goalies tend to take more time. That's why I put out that I would like to, I think I said 5 years for Vejmelka, and then Vrabel takes over for full time, but that may be too long. These extensions maybe not in that realm, and maybe the 1 to 3 year extensions are where he lands, but we'll see where he goes, and it will be interesting to see where Jack McBain goes, because so Jack McBain was lighting it up early in the season, right? When he was playing with Gunther and Cooley, Jack McBain looked great. And then when he got moved away from Cooley and Gunther, his production started to slip, and now he's actually on pace for less production than his last year numbers. So last year he played 67 games, he had 26 points. This year he's played 61 games and only 17 points, which I'll tell you, it feels like Jack McBain has more than 17 points. It feels like Jack McBain's impact is more than just 17 points. And maybe that's where he gets his money, because let's be honest, at worst, Jack McBain is a much better version of Liam O'Brien. I think we can all agree on that. And that is his basement. I mean, I'm talking rock bottom. And I don't want to, get the fans pissed at me for making fun of spicy tuna. But, I mean, that's the rock bottom, right? His lowest of low is better than a player who's currently getting significant amount of ice time. So, at worst, Jack McBain just becomes your next Liam O'Brien. He makes $1.6 million here. This season, I don't know if he goes above $3 million, but if he gets $3 million, 3 years, $3 million for 5 years, I'd feel pretty good about that. I would not mind one bit locking up Jack McBain through his fees. So I'm not saying he's an $8 million guy, but I'd be happy with anything close to $3 million for at least 3 years, and we'll see where that shakes up. And Ryan, I do share your opinion. Michael Carcone is, if he's here, he's here. If he's not, he's not. I'm not married to the guy. I didn't think we'd see him nearly as much as we have with the way he sat the first few, and I think it's only because of Matias Michelli's decline that Carcone's really gotten the opportunity to blossom. But he's making less than $1 million, so I would say no more than $2 million for him if he even makes that. Probably close to 1.5, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I say if we do re-sign Carcone, just give him whatever he's making now. Just give him another year. You know what I mean? Keep it light on him. But enough of the tuna disrespect. I don't know if you guys just don't watch when he's on the ice. Tuna gets a fair amount of shots per game. He's out there. He is the only one on the team who finishes his checks, 9 out of 10 times. The man is willing to fight anybody. And it's not about whether you win or lose the fight in hockey. It's about going out there and dropping the mitts. And you know what? So you two can stop it with the Tuna disrespect. And yeah, we all know Jack McBain is way better than Tuna. Nobody's going to deny that. But Tuna is like the stick. You know what I mean? When guys are playing bad, you bench them, you put in the stick. You put in Tuna, shows them, hey, this guy is better than you. Fix it. Boom. Tuna has a role on this team, unlike 90% of the guys.
Role players get contracts.
We're not speaking ill of Tuna. We're not trying to disrespect Tuna. We're just being realistic about who Tuna is. He is a center who has 2 points this season. He got one the other day, which, I mean, granted, it was a beautiful feed off of the boards. It was a beautiful feed. It was his second point this season. Maverick Lamoureux has 3 points, and he's a defenseman who's playing in freaking Arizona right now. He has more. So, like, I'm not speaking ill of Tuna. He has a place, and that place is being mediocrely decent at hockey and punching people in the face. That is a role on NHL teams. It is an important role to have. We're just being honest about who he is. It's okay. It's not disrespect. It's just honesty.
Now, you see, this is how I know you're a casual fan, Dustin, because all you focus on are the 2 points. The 2 points. Go look at Tuna's career. It's never been about the points with Spicy Tuna. He's got like 15 career points. That's not why he's on the team. Nobody signs Tuna to a deal thinking, oh yeah, we're going to unlock this 30-year-old dude's potential this late into his... No, we signed him to punch people in the face, finish his checks, and make people play better by saying, hey, if you suck, you're getting replaced by the ginger. So pick it up. How dare you? You guys might not be disrespecting him, but you're completely just you're not giving him the respect he deserves as one of the best fourth line players in the league. I don't care what it's never about the stats on the fourth line. Ever.
Bold statement. A bold statement.
You can say that we're disrespecting him. You can say that we're insulting his play and what he means to this team. But what does it mean when you say he's the guy who sucks so bad that if you suck, he's going to play? If you don't step it up, we're going to put in the guy who sucks.
It seems to work, doesn't it? You bench Krause for a game and put him in. Krause comes back the next night and scores 2 goals. Seems like it worked that time.
Okay, it worked that time, but it's still the threat of putting the sucky Tuna on the ice if you suck.
Look, if it was between Bukestad and Tuna, who are you putting on the ice right now? Who are you putting on the ice? I'll tell you, one of those guys puts out 100% effort on every shift. Another one of those guys is robbing this team, and he's from Maine.
Unfair comparison.
Give you that. I will give you that because all you happen to do is choose the worst player on the team and say, well, who would you rather play? The worst player on the team or the second worst?
No. Michelli is clearly the worst player on the team because he keeps getting benched for 7 games.
That's because Turney doesn't know how to coach. Let's all agree on that. It has nothing to do with
we can agree.
Turney just doesn't know how to coach.
I'm just saying, you guys need to give Tuna a little bit more credit than you're giving him. You guys are just brushing off Tuna. Shut up. He's the only person on the team with a defined actual role. Everybody else is like, I'll decide if I want to play.
Can I finish? I will never forgive him for screwing my over-under up so horribly. He's going to hit the under on his penalty minutes. We set it at 150, guys, and he's at 47.
It's not his fault. Look at how many games he played last year. Turney doesn't let him play. Because Turney told him he's not allowed to run around like a chicken with his head cut off anymore. They're keeping him on reins. Because look, he's way better when he's not getting game misconducts.
He's not playing this year because he got 14 points last year. He's got 2 this year.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm not so sure that his second assist was actually him. I don't think he knew the puck was going. I think he was just putting the puck in the center of the ice. I don't think it was intentional on his part.
That's what he does. His whole job is you get the puck, you put it on net, or you put it to the boys who know how to use it. Again, defined role.
He does have a defined role. I just wish he was more
sounds
defined.
Great as your offensive center. being the guy who's supposed to get the puck and throw it to the center of the ice. That's
no, he's
where
not. He's the
supposed
fourth
to
line.
be.
No, he's a fourth line winger. Kevin Stenlin is the fourth line center.
Ryan, Spicy Tuna's role on this team is a hype man. I think what he should do is he should actually roam the stands with the Utah Hockey Bear. Do they call him the Hockey Bear or the Jazz Bear? His whole just fan interaction. Just get that red beard in the stand, pumping up the crowd, because that's all he does on the ice is pump up the crowd. And you'll get just as much energy with him in the crowd.
Both of you. Casuals. You're both casuals who don't understand the finite points of the game. You guys are casuals.
Next year, I don't want him to play more than 7 games. I want him healthy scratched every other time. 7 games.
I don't want to be on this podcast anymore.
That's only when a fight is for sure to break out. Love you, Spicy Tuna. I love the beard. I also love the lookalikes that got a lot of play on Twitter. Good on you guys for Spicy Tuna. I'm telling you, he's a fan favorite. He's going to be around the organization. And one way or another, when his hockey contract is up, when his hockey playing days are over, he's absolutely 100% going to make more money just being a personality on the team. He's going to get Tyson Nash out of there. Nobody knows who Tyson Nash is in Utah. Nobody cares about who Tyson Nash is in Utah. Give that role to Spicy Tuna and have him do it in the stands, because that is good marketing. That is good fan interaction.
To be fair, the
100%.
fans in Arizona didn't care about Tyson Nash. To be 100% fair, you don't need to specify we don't care, but nobody cares about that goofy.
I will 100%. The ratings, if you compare what the Nash cast does right now, in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however long Tuna is able to drag out this career, when he comes back and he has a job on Smith with the Smith Entertainment Group, SEG Media, like when he has a job in the studio and he's hosting like the Tuna Boat cast, that's getting 50 times the ratings that the Nash cast does. Nobody gives a about the Nash cast. Like, Austin Facer's decent. Like, he at least has ties to this community. People know who he is. He's been a podcast host before. He's the son of sports media royalty in the state. People know who he is, and he belongs here, and he belongs in what he's doing. Nobody gives a about Nash. Get him. I know, like, this was all kind of thrown together. Ryan Smith bought the team, brought him to Utah. I was like, okay, we need people in these roles. Let's just bring them over from Arizona. Okay, we did that. They were like sort of a Band-Aid to bridge 1 year to the next. But next year, just get rid of all the Arizona dudes that you brought with us. Bring in Utah guys. Like, let Liam retire. Like, we don't need him on the ice anymore, Ryan. We don't need him on the ice anymore. Put him in the studio. Build it around what Utah is now. The Nashcast.
Stop making the Nashcast a thing. It's not going to be a thing. Bring back the lab. That's what I'm saying. I love the lab. Bring back the lab, guys. But hey, speaking of fan service, let's do a little bit of fan service right now. We put it out there on Twitter. We wanted some mailbag questions, and you guys delivered. So we've got a couple of questions we want to address towards the end of this episode, and continue to engage with the listeners, with the great fans of this Utah Hockey Club out there. We see the passion, we see the excitement, and let's get that engagement up. Dustin, do you want to do your question first, or should I do mine?
I've got mine right in front of me. This comes from the Utah Blockcast Discord, where I put the question there. If you're a Utah fan and you're not part of the Utah Blockcast Discord, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's the only ad I will do right now. They're not paying me for that. I'm just, as a paying customer of that service, I really like it. But this question comes from RKB on the Utah Blockcast. It's like a 2-parter. It's actually kind of a 3-parter. Who are your dream free agent signings for this offseason compared to realistic signings? I mean, obviously you want to bring in like Ovechkin at the end of the year, whatever, but that's not realistic. Who are your dream signings? Who are your realistic signings? And then also, what does this team have to do to become more consistent?
Number one, to be more consistent, is we need a coach who is consistent in coaching, because that's just a huge. You're not going to be consistent if the guy in charge doesn't know what the he's doing. And I'm not saying Turney doesn't know what the he's doing, but in my humble opinion, he doesn't know what the he's doing. Realistic signings, I think John Cooper will be the realistic free agent signing, which sure, some of you out there are like, John Cooper, I've never heard of that player because he's not a player. He's the coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning who took that franchise from mediocrity to damn near dynasty. I'm pretty sure we can all call him a modern day NHL dynasty, right? Like they have what, 3 cups? Like they've got to be. So I think he's really good friends with Ryan Smith off the scene. You know, they're golf buddies and investment friends. So I feel if there's one realistic sign, and he's a free agent, I do believe he's a free agent coach at the end of the year. I hope he is. If he's not, forget everything I just said. But he's the one I think we could bring in. Hopeful. It'd be cool to bring in Mitch Marner. Not going to hold my breath. Not going to say he's going to fix the franchise. But talent like that doesn't come around every day on the market.
No, it does not. And if John Cooper's not available this upcoming year, it's the following year. He took the Lightning to the Stanley Cup 4 years, coaching, including the most recent attempt at a three-peat that was stymied by the Colorado Avalanche, jerks that they are. But I agree with you on the person who's going to come out. I think the home run, the slam dunk, in my opinion, would be Mitch Marner. Now, Mitch Marner is having one of his best seasons in Toronto, and unless they fail miserably in the playoffs, I don't think that the Toronto market wants him gone as much as they did at the beginning of the season, because he was always the scapegoat. Mitch Marner of that core was always the scapegoat. He didn't interact with the fans very well. The fans didn't like him. The mentality was that he didn't want to be in Toronto, that the lights, the bright media lights of a Canadian market weren't conducive to his style of play, his personality, but he has absolutely turned it on. He's become a national darling in Canada for his Four Nations performance. But that's the guy you get. If you want him, that's the guy you get. The next one, we've obviously talked about Mikko Rantanen, but I'm not sold on a long-term contract for Mikko Rantanen. It's going to cost us way more than we want, and you probably are going to have to sign him for 8 years, and we are all hoping that our young centers become the future. If Tisha Ginla can repeat what Logan Cooley is doing, and in his second or third season, that's going to be what we want. Otherwise, we are worrying. It's worrying to me that we get saddled with a $13-14 million contract trying to swing for the fences with Mikko Rantanen. So I would like us to swing for the fences. If we're going to pay somebody 12 or 13 million, I'd like to swing for the fences on Mitch Marner versus Mikko Rantanen. Otherwise, I think the next obvious would be if Vejmelka doesn't get signed, I think you got to go find a goalie, and then you really worry because the best of the best are no longer available, and you worry about that goaltending position for another year, which is going to lead to a lack of consistency. For the follow-up to that question is we've got to have consistency on the in the goaltender spot. We have to have consistency on the lines. No more high school hockey coaching. No more trying to punish players, reward players with ice. Just figure out what works, change it when it doesn't, and keep it when it does. Torini's got to figure this. He's got to coach a winning team. He's never had the pressure to win. And next season, I don't care what happens. Next season, the rebuild is over. Next season, real hockey expectations happen. And I don't know if Turini, is ready for those expectations. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think you guys kind of covered all of the realistic ones. The one that I like is Mitch Marner. I've got that name in my head, and then I sort of get obsessive compulsive when I find a player and a name that I want, and I just I want that player on the team, and that has become Mitch Marner. You did, Randon, you brought up goalies. If you cannot work out a deal with Vejmelka, the other name that I was going to toss out there that I don't think you actually mentioned it as you were talking there, but a man who's turning in sort of similar stats as Vejmelka this year, who's a free agent this upcoming offseason. That's Aiden Hill from Vegas. I don't know if that's how you want to plug that, but he seems like he might be a decent stopgap between Vejmelka and the goalie who's coming up through the minors, who slipped my name. I know we have a goalie kind of coming up through the farm system that the franchise believes a lot in, but Aiden Hill could be somebody that you see kind of slotting in to bridge that gap if they're not able to work out a contract with Vejmelka.
Hey, I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it at all. That is a good thing. I actually thought that he had signed a extension, and if he has not, 100% bring Aiden Hill in. I would be absolutely okay with that. Absolutely okay with that. He won a Stanley Cup, so can't go wrong there. Now let's move on to this last question. It comes from Daryl Boyer. I hope I'm saying that correctly. At Daryl Boyer on Twitter, so please follow him. He got some great takes, very active in the Utah community. So his question is, let's assume Utah makes no big deadline splash. Veggie, Kerfoot, and Boehner get extensions. They make a solid push, but miss the playoffs by a point or two. That's enough for this fan, meaning himself, to consider season 1 a success. Do you think that becomes the consensus narrative? So we've already got Kerfoot re-signed. Assume Veggie and Boehner do. Do you guys think we're like it is okay if we just miss the playoffs, that we will look at this season and say, yep, we knocked it out of the park, absolute success? What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, you can look at it like that as a success. I don't expect us to do anything in free agency. The one thing or not in free agency, at the trade deadline. And the one problem I have with that is this team, so far we've seen, is not going to be a playoff team. They haven't been consistent enough to be a playoff team. So if you're not going to do anything at the deadline, I guess we just kind of accept it. You know what I mean? If they decide to, try to make a push, I think it would taste a little bit better. But I'm assuming they're going to wait for free agency to do all their and I'm not against that, but at the same time, it would be nice to, you know what I mean? It's your first year. Ryan Smith is willing to spend some money. You know what I mean? Throw out something. Go do something. Try, get a rental. See what happens. I'm not saying go get like Rantanen as a rental, but go get Jason Zucker from Buffalo. Go get, I don't know, X amount of people. Go get them and just see what happens for a little push. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
I would consider it a success because, when you're looking at what this franchise did last year when they were in Arizona, like they finished the season with 77 points. They were 21 points out of the wild card spot. Like they weren't in that at the end of the season like Utah. I think, as we all assume, they will be, like we'll be making a push towards the end of the season, still in the hunt for the wild card, and that's what you wanted to see, like, from this season versus last season, and to still be there despite the injury problems that they had, despite Dursey being lost after game 3. Despite like some of the goalie turmoil and Ingram taking a step back from last year, like there's a lot of stuff that this team has had to deal with, especially on the injury front. So for them to take such a big step forward versus where they were last year, I think it sets up good and well for the future. Obviously, like, we'd prefer to make the playoffs, and I think it would be better for this team to make the playoffs. I made the comparison to the early Oklahoma City Thunder days when Durant and Harden and Westbrook were there, how they kind of sneaked into the playoffs as the 8 seed, and that was really good for their development. I think getting a taste of the playoffs is crucial for this team, but I don't think it's world-ending if they don't. I would consider it a success as long as we're approaching the last, 5 or 6 games of the season still in the wild card hunt. Like if we're 10 games left in the season and it's like, okay, like it's gonna take Utah winning out and the teams in front of them just completely falling apart, like Hail Mary long shot, then that's gonna leave a sour taste in our mouths. But as long as they're in the battle, in the fight for that last wild card spot as we come down to the end of the season, I'll still consider it a success.
Yeah, you're right, and I think my personal expectations for this team have varied wildly, and it's been this roller coaster of, yes, we're awesome, no, we're not. Yes, we're awesome, no, we're not, and kind of, I haven't ever had true consistent feelings about where my expectation level should be, because I never, after the moves that we made to bring in the people that we made, I didn't believe in this, we're still in a rebuild, temper your expectations, we're still in a rebuild. I didn't believe that narrative. I truly and honestly felt like we had done enough to turn this team into a playoff team. Not necessarily a playoff winning team, but a team that would compete for and in the playoffs. And so the consensus narrative to me for a successful season, I think it entirely hinges on what you guys have said, is that they have to be competing down the stretch. I mean, we still need to be talking about how there's a mathematical chance for them to make it with 5 games left. Because if we are out of the hunt with 10 games or more left, like, that's a failure. If for some reason we slip into the 7th spot again, let's say Anaheim's only 2 points behind us. Say we go on a losing streak, which this team has had this season, and let's say Seattle catches us, right? We fall to 7th in the Central. If that happens, I think you 100%, you have to fire Turney right then and there, right? You cannot, with this roster, fall to the 7th seed, even if he personally has more points this year than he's ever had. He's had a much more talented roster than he's ever had, and I worry that we will, if we keep him, what we are saying is mediocrity is okay. And next year, mediocrity will be okay. And then the next year, mediocrity will be okay. And hey, if we get into the first round, that's great. That's our Stanley Cup. No. With the moves that this team wants to make, the expectations, in my opinion, next year and beyond, go right to us being maybe not a legitimate cup contender where you pick 3 teams and they win the cup, but a playoff contender, absolutely. I'm talking like the Winnipegs. I'm talking about like the Minnesota Wild, right? Those teams that have they won a cup recently? No. But I can't remember the last time that Winnipeg go back, but like Minnesota's always there. And recently, especially with Hellebuyck, Winnipeg has always been there. And we have a team. We have a core that should be able to do that. But I digress. Overall, I think the answer to the question is, yeah, if we are fighting for a playoff spot, that is 100% a success, even if we don't get there. But we have to be fighting for it, because if we aren't, that's when it really, I think, really saddens. But we'll always have hey, at least we have hockey. It was a great inaugural season, right? But I don't want to just default to, hey, at least we have hockey here, because eventually, as fans, how does a fan judge the success of a team? Championships, playoff support, right? We're not in it to pay $300 a ticket to go see our team during the regular season. We're paying that $300 ticket during the regular season, hoping that we're watching a team that is eventually going to lift the cup. That's what we're watching for, right? Otherwise, big positive, ticket sales or ticket prices hopefully hit the basement if our team hits the basement. But good episode, guys. Good discussion as always. Thank you guys very much for your questions, you fans out there. Please continue to ask the questions. Please continue to hit us up on Twitter at the 2LinePass. Guys, any closing thoughts before we head out this evening?
Man, we went on for a while. We're approaching the hour mark, and we didn't even talk about the previous games. We didn't talk about what we have coming up. But I think maybe, I don't think I'd be able to join because I'd be on the road. But Thursday's game against Detroit is a 5 p.m. puck drop, so maybe Randon and Ryan can return to the world of post-game podcasts, hoping that game goes well. And then Friday, Chicago's is 6:30. So we might be able to do back-to-back post-game episodes. And I think that would be great for the fans. Just saying.
Ryan, we doing post-game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay, post-game and trade. It'll be a post-game and a trade deadline special. So does anybody have, is the trade deadline midnight Friday or midnight Thursday?
It's probably midnight Friday.
I think it's midnight the 8th.
Midnight, it goes all the way to Saturday.
I thought maybe it's midnight Friday.
Or is it midnight the 7th?
Hold on a second. Hold on.
So the trade deadline is 3 p.m. Eastern on March 7th.
You guys hold just one quick second. I have to double check if this is real. The official page of the TSN and RDS Hockey Insider, Pierre Lebrun, just tweeted 14 minutes ago, Utah has re-signed goalie Karel Vejmelka to a 5-year contract at $4.75 million per season.
Why did this not come up on any?
Yes. Okay, so Pierre Lebrun tweeted it.
Mm-hmm,
Cole Bagley has responded and said, waiting on
the
team
Score
confirmation.
just posted it.
So it's
5
real,
years,
guys.
20.
So they took my 5 years. I said 5 years. I think they overpaid, but I did say 5 years.
5 million a year. That's not bad. I can work with that.
I did. I feel good. I said 5 years. I do think it's a little bit of an overpayment, but guys, okay. Well, that solves that. That's. I don't know. I guess we're gonna edit this part into the front. No, we're just gonna leave you guys. Maybe we'll.
No, we'll just leave it here.
Yeah, we'll just leave it exactly. This is awesome.
Saying we learned about it while recording a podcast, and to listen to tomorrow's episode to hear 3 fans learning about the news that we have re-signed Vejmelka. So
no
I was
wonder
wrong.
my Twitter
I said we would hear McBain first and then Vejmelka, but they locked down the goalie, which is awesome to see. And we have, which now knowing this, we're gonna go over the hour mark now. But knowing this, with Ingram under contract for next year, does the team now look at trading Ingram and bringing up Stauber to back up Vejmelka? Or do they hold on to Ingram for next year?
They're gonna hold on to Ingram.
Okay, yeah. So here's the thing. Like, I love Ingram.
There may not be
as a backup
value for Ingram.
No, I don't think there is.
Maybe Florida, because I learned from both of you two that they just traded their backup goalie, but.
No,
I think the Ingram is
I
still
don't think they're willing to give anything up for Ingram.
Yeah,
Ingram's not worth
is a team-friendly contract. It's not bad to have for your backup. And
no, but
he's well. I don't think he's like I don't think that Connor Ingram is a high-level goalie by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he is a very quality backup goalie. So I think that's probably the right way to handle that.
Last year he did lead the league in shutouts, which that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But this year he definitely has had a significant drop-off in play, and I think that tarnished his trade value.
So let's talk about this. So looking at Puckpedia is announcing the breakdown of it, and this is a front-loaded contract. So in year 1, 2, and 3 makes north of $5 million, and years 4 and 5 makes less than $4 million. So if we're looking at, let's say, this to me, the roster break, or the breakdown that is that saying we trust you for 3, and then if you're not there in 3, we can move you easily and cheaply, and that gives a lot of flexibility for the team, and the player gets his money, right? Vejmelka has earned some dollars, and this is good. I think the breakdown of that contract works for literally everybody, because I think if you had to eat that $5 million all 5 years, like, that's a little rough. But you pay him now. If he is the goalie that he has been this season, if he is that same goalie next year, and he gets 55 starts, like, that's heavenly. Like, there we are. Like, we're there, right? It's a 55 start Vejmelka guarantees you 30 wins, plus whatever you get out of Ingram, and then plus whatever he does above expectation, which could be a 55 start season, could be a 40 and 15 type season. That would be incredible. The best goaltending performance we've seen in any Arizona, certainly in the previous Arizona years. So I like it as long as he plays like he did this year. Let's do it.
I agree. I think I'm not trying to look too far ahead. I'm not turning the page on this season yet. But with Vejmelka under contract next year, if Ingram can kind of return to the form that he had last year with all the shutouts that he was pitching, with the offensive firepower, if you're able to bring in a guy like Mitch Marner, you're able to get the coach that Ryan mentioned earlier. His name's slipping my mind. Cooper. Mm-hmm. If you're able to bring now all that in, this team is really starting to put their foot in the ground and take that step. And this team is building towards something that I really, really believe in for the future, the near future of this team. I'm stoked right now. I'm fired up. This is happy times in the studio. The Ducks are up on the Canucks. The Kings are tied with the Blues, and they're at home. They're gonna win anyways. This could go down as an all-time great night in the history of the Utah Hockey Club.
What if it's a sign-and trade? What if we Sergachev Vejmelka? We sign him and trade him. Can you imagine what the emotion Sergachev must have felt after signing the 8-year deal only to get traded? Like that. Surely that weighs on your psyche. But I don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening. So, but man, this is good. Yeah, great night. Great night. Great podcast, guys. And Ryan, let's plan on doing a post game, because then we can just sit and monitor the trade deadline. Because what did you say? You confirmed it's 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday the 7th?
Yep.
Yeah, so we can just do a post game, talk about any of the happenings that happened during the day before the game and anything during and post game. So we'll just watch. But this is obviously a big one. So if they're doing deals, you would have to. I mean, you have to get something done with McBain, right? Like if everybody else is signing deals, like. Something's got to give, so you probably sign McBain and Carcone again, and yeah, I guess nobody goes, and then it's just a question of what do you do with Michelli, or do you just nothing? You just let him ride the pine. Questions for another time. $3.5 million Michelli's making, but questions for another time, guys. What an exciting night! Fantastic news for everybody and fans out there. We appreciate you. Please continue to be supportive of this Utah Hockey Club. Please continue to be active. We love to see the passion. I know it means a lot to the team, and you guys have shown to be one of the most passionate fan bases out there. So thank you guys very much for listening. We appreciate it. Ryan, Dustin, thanks so much for coming on with me today. Thank you very much for being a part of this. It truly has been an incredible season so far and can only get better. Big time hype. We're making the playoffs. You heard it here first. Everybody, have a good night.